Looking for an island paradise? How about 2, or 3, or 13,600? Then try Indonesia, an exotic collection of literally thousands of islands along the equator. A gem among them is Bali. A symphony of nature, a place where nature's paintbrush is at work. A palette of lush flowers, dramatic skies, turquoise waters, towering mountains, exotic people. A society relatively intact, relatively unencumbered by outside influence. Those who come to Bali come in part for its splendid landscape. Those who spend some time here might also learn something about animism, that doctrine that says there is a soul in everything that lives. In reality, it's harmony, a harmony of the human spirit and nature. Historically, Bali was under the Javanese empires. In the late 16th century, Islam became the dominant religion over Hinduism. As a result, intellectuals and others fled to Bali, and now the small island is populated mainly by Hindus, and religion is the centerpiece of life. The people are famous for maintaining their traditions and for their expressiveness in music, in dance, an exquisitely precise form of movement in exquisitely created costuming. While many programs today are designed for visitors, there is a good chance you'll be able to see the authentic performances if you spend some time here. But if your time is limited, even a taste of this element of Balinese culture will be an unusual experience. You'll also find the Balinese expressiveness in art. At play. Including games of chance, particularly cockfighting. A form of entertainment that lures the gamblers despite being technically illegal. The Balinese also have their own version of chariot racing. Water buffaloes are hitched to the carts and driven around a course. Some are said to reach speeds of 80 kilometers per hour. That's about 50 miles an hour. The animals and their drivers are ornately decorated and rush around the course with competitive grace. To a surprising degree, the old Indonesian culture is preserved. In dress, sarongs and batik. In food. No mechanized food processors here. Goods are transported from place to place in a very practical way. Occasionally, you'll find a modern intrusion in an otherwise lush tropical landscape. Temples seem to literally grow out of the Balinese land. It's dotted with volcanoes, making the soil rich and fertile. Throughout Indonesia, there are about 200 active volcanoes, and it was in Indonesia that the famous Krakatoa erupted in 1883. In Bali, the skillful farmers till the volcanic soil and have transformed hills and plains into terraces for their rice crops, but they've also transformed them into an exquisite blend of art and nature. All this has made Bali and its neighboring islands a natural choice for tourism. About 3 million visitors are expected this year from all over the world. The beaches are among the best and are especially popular with Australian surfers. Meet Bruce Johnson. He's been to Bali 5 times and plans to keep visiting.
Yeah, I think it's probably a good place to actually, pick up and learn surfing because it's a lot more forgiving here. The waves are a lot slower. We're in Australia and similar to Hawaii in that the waves they jack up a lot quicker, so you've got to be, the takeoff's more critical, you've got to be a lot quicker on your takeoff, you've got to be faster. Here it's a bit more laid back and a bit more slower, so it is a bit more forgiving in that way.
If battling a wall of water is not your favorite pastime, you might try just sunning and relaxing. How's this for an oceanside snack? Water skiers can keep themselves busy, sometimes very busy in these waters of Bali. Golfers need not feel slighted either. They're welcome to bring their clubs along. If you're a shopper, you're bound to find that special treasure. There's plenty to choose from. And if you like zoos, this is Bali's version, the monkey forest, and everyone seems to enjoy it. The bats don't mind at all, and the monkeys are prospering. The animals roam free and seem to welcome the human companionship. If nothing else, the monkeys know they can depend on at least 3 full meals a day, probably more than that. If you can bring yourself to leave Bali, Java, where the Indonesian capital of Jakarta is located, is a good choice for a next destination. Its highly developed art forms are derived from a time that Java was the center of the Hindu-Javanese culture. If you're a bit more energetic, try Mount Bromo. The volcanic mountain is 7,000 feet, or about 2,300 meters above sea level. This is where you'll see one of the most famous sunrises in the world. You'll head for the viewing spot on horseback. You'll see white sulfur smoke. You'll be astounded by the spectacular sight. There's hardly a camera big enough to capture all this. To capture this symphony of nature in this land known as Indonesia. I'm Sophia Manos.